Well, the editing is done, folks. Started at 5:30 a.m. and it's 10:30 p.m. That would be 17 hours. And this is for the second bag for the animals. And the character generator caused the picture to lose horizontal sync. Boy, you've grown so much. You were just a little tight when I first met you. There's the harvest moon, and this is the first time we've had a glimpse of it. Those lingering clouds. If it would only rain and get it over with instead of hang over us for 4 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I was telling you that the character generator made nice letters and superimposed nicely, but it caused the picture to lose horizontal sync. So I don't know where we stand on that, folks. Hello, harvest moon. So I'm glad we made it. At least we saw the full moon, the full harvest moon. Shine on harvest moon. And the animals did like my casserole. And they did like the dessert. And I'll give them another bag of popcorn and they'll be all set. They stay up all night and eat, you know. Good night, everybody. Thank you, God, for the night. Thank you, God, for the new day. Thank you, God, for food. Thank you, God, for rest. Thank you, God, for loving day. Thank you, God, for loving care. And for the new day so fair. Thank you for a good week. Well, folks, we got a glimpse of the harvest moon. First one. Nights have been so cloudy, and the days. And it was beautiful, and I videotaped it, but you can't see it for a couple of weeks. How are you? I should have videotaped the hymns in church for you. They were very inspiring. It took 15.5 hours to edit a chat with Glendora yesterday. It started at 5:30 in the morning and it ended at 10:30 p.m. But it's good. It's good. The information is superlative. There's particularly an interview by George, not an interview, it's a discussion with Shirley Binion, how the Maryland courts ruined her, how a vice president in her company dealt behind her back and got in cahoots with a bunch of predatory lenders and lawyers and banks and just went and stole her business and tens of millions of dollars in mortgages she was helping people. And she paid back every person. She paid back every person. It's a depressing story, but it's inspiring too. How she did this and how her faith in God and the people in her church and her mother, how her mother helped her. It's a whole Binion story. Look it up on the internet. www.achatwithglendora.com. Look up Shirley Binion and hear that story. And of course the same thing happened to George McDermott. He lost a $2.5 million business, and they're going after his house. Well, I'm very happy to say that the videotapes that were submitted to public access in the District of Columbia, DCTV, that they refused to cablecast, and of course this was all illegal and a disgusting violation of public access rights. All of them that they refused to cablecast are now on the internet. Well, no, half of them. There's 40 of them. Over 40 programs were submitted to them. They refused to cablecast them because they were telling the truth about the judges in the District of Columbia, both in the District Court and the Court of Appeals. So half of them have been done, 20 out of 40. And they're rolling, ready for the internet. Some of them are over there. There's 4 tapes to go to the internet. That's 4 programs per tape. That's 16 new programs on the internet. And that'll make about 116 half-hour programs to chat with Glendora on the internet. So I'm so happy to report that. And again, I want to remind you about the moon last night. Maybe tonight is hopeless. Hopeless. I just don't understand why those clouds come and linger for 4 days. Why don't they just come, rain, get it over with, and then we'll have 3 days of sunshine, and then we can see the moon. Well, this is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. And say to the person next to you that God loves you. And here are today's jokes. The stock investor said, I don't know what it is, but every time, it's just as soon as I buy sweet chariot stocks, is how he put it. I buy sweet chariot stocks. Just as soon as I buy them, they swing low. And the stockbroker says, you'd be surprised how many people come to my office with a chauffeur and a Lincoln to get the advice of a guy who comes to work on the bus. And one stockbroker is very sentimental. At Christmas time, he hangs mistletoe from his office door so his clients can kiss their money goodbye. And Ed says, I could kick myself. He says, 20 years ago, I had a chance to buy stock in Federal Express, but I didn't. I thought it was a fly-by-night company. And the big Wall Street tycoon comes home at night, and his neighbor said to him, what's the latest dope on Wall Street? And the tycoon said, my son Irving, he just started working for the company. The little girl says, Mommy, is it true what it says in the Bible, we come from dust and return to dust? And Mommy says, well, certainly. And the little girl says, I just looked under the couch and somebody's coming or going. Bill says, it's getting very hard for me to support this government in the custom to which it has, no, in the style to which it has become accustomed, right? We know what vacation time is? It's a time of the year that Americans put aside their Rubik's Cube and face the all-time challenge, refolding a roadmap. A famous author was asked, what do you consider your greatest work of fiction? And he said, my income tax. And the boss at work said that John, at least when he filled out his 1040 form, at least he told the truth. He put down that half of his income was unearned. Peter is talking to God, and he says, God, how much is $1 million to you? And God said, $10. And Peter says, well, God, how long is 1,000,000 years to you? And God said, 1 second. And Peter says, God, could you loan me $10? And God said, certainly, just a second. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. 1 minute of goodwill, good cheer, and good humor, brought to you by... This is Karen Galasso, and I'm telling her about Harry was talking to God, and Harry said to God, how much is $1 million to you, God? And God said, $10. And Harry says, well, God, how long is 1,000,000 years to you? And God said, 1 second.
No. $10. How much is $1 million to you? $10? Mm-hmm. And how long is 1,000,000 years to you? 1 second. And Harry said, God, will you loan me $10? And God said, certainly, just a second. Glendora, you always put a smile on my face, and I need it today.
Hello, blue sky. We haven't seen you since Saturday. Isn't it nice to have your own elm tree when elm trees are so rare now and so precious? They look like a vase of flowers. He is Lord, He is Lord, na, 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 He is Lord. Let every tongue confess, every knee shall bow, that Jesus Christ is Lord. And it takes 10 minutes to make this fancy bed. And what we've got here is Ecock, the woman who said she would sign for a chat with Glendora to be on Peekskill Cablevision, and then went back on her word. And this is the contract that she signed. And Cecilia forgot that she signed it, and Ecock forgot that she signed it. And so Ecock made a mess of things for nothing. What Ecock should have done was to say, I gave my word I would sign it, and sign it. And then when the next 6 months came up, say, I don't want to sign it. But she had no reason to say she didn't want to sign it. And I will read you this paper. It's about 150 pages. What is it called? Post-hearing memorandum by Glendora. Town Court of Phillipstown, County of Putnam, State of New York, United States of America. Glendora plaintiff versus Deborah Ecock, defendants. I questioned of rising with the portability charge so that if you can go from one company to another, Verizon will let you take the telephone number that you have at Verizon and give it to the new company. This is something new, you know, in this fast-moving technology. I think sometimes it's too fast. Okay, so this is kind of interesting.
That's toll-free. Here's another new toll-free number, 866. That's something else. Oh, that's very good. 8953. All right. Thank you, Miss Cadley, very much. Interesting? Yes, just a second. I want to tell you the telephone joke. The operator said, that'll be $1.89. And the customer says, operator, I asked you to reverse the charges. And she says, okay, it's $9.81. Okay, thank you very much. You're welcome. I'll be switched.
My 5,555th call, telephone call, since my poor sweetheart Frankie left us on October 19th, 2003. I started enumerating the telephone calls because all of them were his, and I wanted to see how many I made for him and his sake on his behalf after he died. And it was Jonathan Jaffes, a great friend, who got a chat with Glendora on TV, back on TV in Yonkers. And he worked on it, and he worked on it, and he worked on it. And Jonathan, as you know, is the name of a good friend that was a good friend of David in the Bible when Saul, his father, was out to kill him. And Jonathan, Saul's son, came and told David. Okay, now 5,556 was to George Malone at Greenberg Public Access. And we got good news there. He packaged up 40 tapes for me, 40, and sent them to me. I sent him the $9 postage. You realize, folks, what's that saving me? Let's see, it cost me $38 for tapes for 40. And I send the postage, so what's that? He saved me $29, right? Isn't that marvelous? And they'll probably be there Friday when I go to the post office. So thank you, George Malone. Thank you, Paul Feiner. Thank you, Alfreda Williams. Thank you, you people in Greenberg. Because as I said to George, the terrible things that are happening to broadcast television being taken over by all big businesses, and you're only going to hear on TV, folks, what the big businesses want you to hear. But now, that makes public access all the more the hero. Because on public access, we tell you things that NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox News don't tell you. So, this is philosophic. Let me put up the telephone number in case you want to discuss this with me. Here it is. And just a note here that I won't have to have this Glendora and the telephone number across the middle of the screen anymore because I have a titler. I don't get time to develop it and practice it and get it up and running. But I have to work on that. But I'm going to get that name and that number down at the bottom of the screen or at the top of the screen and give you a lot more information because I can put titles on the screen and give you a whole lot more information that will help you. I want you to be whole, happy, and healthy, and I know you can be. Printing. Peacock. We're up to page 29. This wonderful little copying machine, it never makes a mistake. I make a plenty of them. But this machine never makes a mistake. Never fails. We got nearly a perfect azure blue sky. Perfect, nearly perfect. Baked bread, folks. My friend Mary baked it. I bought it. It was frozen, and I let it thaw and rise. And then she baked this loaf, and I baked the other 2 loaves. And you know something? It's real.
We have the probably what's not going to be picked up by anybody. Yeah. Do you have any that you can? Yeah. That I can have? Well, fine. I just double check that with the serious information we can help. Okay, that's where we were 2 months ago. Yeah. Yeah, I know, that's my fault. I gotta keep that. But don't put it up front. I can leave a message in your machine. I honestly, why not? That would be nice. Yeah, it's been here forever. That's good, Yeah, and you probably would appreciate having the space. Yeah, a lot of it, that's it. Yeah, that's why I get a lot of tapes. Some people start a show with oil, they get over the big fanfare, I wasn't the biggest fan to at the beginning of the ones that fizzle out. Well, they do. You never hear from again. That's funny. Yeah, they don't come back to their tapes. But you can always tell, when someone starts, bang, uh-oh. You're never going to hear from them again. 9 cases out of 10, that's what happens. and when I do like last weekend, I did 20 editions. You know, so I do 20 half hours every 2 weeks.
So I think they don't realize what they're getting into.
Yes, that's it, and so then they get winded.
Yeah, well, they can shoot.
Well, I can certainly sympathize with them there.
So,
Well, I'm getting closer to the 4,000s. I'm up to 3,920 something.
you're getting there.
Yeah, so it might be 3 months. 2 months. Am I on in Yonkers? I think I am. I think I'm on in Yonkers. I got a hold of Wesley. Did you ever get a hold of him?
I spoke to him, and, yeah.
I started on Cablevision and... No, I started on UA Columbia. UA Columbia, 1984. Manhattan Cable TV in 1973. Buffalo Cable TV in 1972. And Harrison, I started in 1987.
When did you actually start the show? What year was that?
1972 Buffalo.
72.
Yes, that'd be Buffalo. That'd be 22 years. 32 years. I just lost a decade. That'd be 32 years. And then broadcast, I've been in 50. That would be, broadcast would be about 1950. So that'd be 55 years. Right, 54 years? 54 years.
Right, very beginning.
Yeah. The beginning for television was 48.
That's right, yeah.
It started a little before the war.
Yeah, that's right.
41 or
Or sort of got put on the back burner.
yes, it did.
Because I know it was demonstrated. My mother told me that the 1939 World's Fair.
He's right. And I bet your mother might remember that it was General Electric who demonstrated it. And they sent the signal from WRGB Schenectady all the way down to New York.
Yep.
And they wanted a signal that was very clear and delineated and sharply outlined. Guess what they used? Felix the cat.
Really?
Yeah, they used Felix the cat. That's what they transmitted down there. That was the signal. It originated in Schenectady, and they transmitted it to New York, which is a heck of a ways, you know. That's more than the usual 50-mile radius that a TV station has. It's 150 miles.
That's true, that's right.
So it was quite a feat,
That's right.
and it was demonstrated at the World's Fair. That's wonderful that your mother was there to witness that.
Yeah, it had demonstrated the 39 World's Fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's terrific.
Yeah, then unfortunately World War II, I guess, it was all put on the back burner.
Oh, definitely.
Once the war ended.
Automobiles. They didn't make automobiles. They stopped making automobiles. I think they had a 41, and there were a few 42s, very few.
Same thing with the appliances. You couldn't buy appliances or anything like that.
No.
That was all on the back burner.
Yes, it was.
Late 40s.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Sure.
No, you couldn't get any of those things.
I guess TV started to get cranked up again about 46.
No, I wouldn't say 46. I would say 47, 48.
47, 48.
Yes. It started. And the early shows were the Texaco Star Theater,
Sure.
Milton Berle,
That's right.
and John Cameron Swayze,
That's right. Oh, yeah.
and Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
That's right.
And see the USA in your Chevrolet. Dinah Shore.
Sure.
Dinah Shore.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Groucho Marx.
Yeah. You knew Groucho Marx.
Well, came out one night, on a break, and I was standing at the artist entrance, and he says, "Good evening." And I said, "Oh, good evening." He says, "It's a nice night, isn't it?" He was quite serious, quite pleasant, and quite mannerly. Yeah, that was nice of him. He didn't have to do that, did he?
No, no. Sure. Was that here in New York or the West Coast?
Oh, West Coast.
West Coast.
Yeah. Oh, West Coast. Oh, definitely. TV was the heaviest in New York, and the only thing that came from Hollywood was the Colgate Comedy Hour
Right.
and Dinah Shore, and I guess Dragnet, but Dragnet was on film.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. Let's see, where did Bob Hope come from? Bob Hope, I don't know whether Bob Hope came from the El Capitan Theater to Hollywood Boulevard. The NBC studios didn't have, they didn't have enough studios at Sunset and Vine. They used the El Capitan Theater, and they made that over for television for the Colgate Comedy Hour. That was Eddie Cantor, Martin and Lewis, and a couple other people. They would have one show a month. It would be a different show each weekend. 4 shows for it.
Right.
But that's going way back. That would be 1951 or 2. I don't think you were. Maybe you know those shows.
Yeah. Sure. I wasn't around that early, no. Yeah, that was good television, though. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Martin and Lewis were terrific. I don't know how they did it. This was live, you know. There was no tape. There was no tape, you know.
That's right, that was amazing.
Oh no, this was all live.
Right, that's right.
And it just gave the stars the heebie-jeebies, you know. Here you are on live television. You know, no retake. There was no...
Right, that's right.
It went out just the way it was.
Welcome to a chat with Glendora, America's champion of pro se litigants' rights and First Amendment rights. Stay tuned, we will be right back with our show.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! Who are we? Acorn! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
they kept the Sullivan show live up till it went off the air.
Oh yeah, and he came from a theater.
Yeah. CBS, originally CBS Studio 50.
Oh yeah, up there on Broadway, I believe.
Broadway 53rd.
Yeah.
And, of course, by that time, of course, the lady already did that tape and all, but he insisted that Sullivan insisted still on doing the show live.
Perry Como is moving up a few years. Perry Como came from a theater there. Oh, and of course, the show of shows. That was the show. Yeah, Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca.
That's right, yeah.
That was the show. Milton Berle, Texaco Star Theater.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that Hollywood got all freaked out because they were going to do a show that was going, and they were going to do it live, and it was going to originate from Hollywood and go all over the country. And this was something very big and new for Hollywood. And because the shows were all originating in New York. And the show they got all ready, they turned the converted Studio D and got it all ready. And guess what the show was? Cougar Fran and Ollie. Isn't that funny? And I remember seeing the puppet stage that they set up there. And Fran Allison was on the show. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was soon after that that they really got big and got their big thing. They got the Chevrolet contract, advertising contract, and Dinah Shore came out Tuesdays and Thursdays. It had to be at 4 p.m. In Hollywood time to get to New York at 7 p.m. New York time. And she came out with a 15-minute show every Tuesday and Thursday night at 4 p.m. Now radio, that was nothing. They had beautiful studios for radio.
Sure.
And radio, of course, at that point was coming to an end.
That's right, yeah, yeah.
But I did see Fibber McGee and Molly, and I did see Jack Benny and Bob Hope, and I did see Red Skelton. Poor Red Skelton, he was a mess after a show.
Really?
Oh yeah, he really took it hard. He was to the point of being sick, to the point of being vomiting after a show.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, he took it hard,
Yeah, yeah.
but he was good.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, he was terrific.
Yeah, his show he was on, first CBS and NBC.
Yeah, so what's it the other way around?
It could have been
Yeah,
the other way around.
yeah, because CBS made a big raid on NBC talent, and the only one who really stayed with NBC was Bob Hope.
That's right, yes.
And they raided and took Jack Benny, and they took Burns and Allen. Yeah, Burns and Allen, that was another one.
Yep, oh, yeah. Yeah.
We used to do the scripts for Dragnet. In fact, the Jack Webb Company, although I didn't know Jack Webb much, but I knew all the people who worked for him, they took me in hand and made me a flyer to help me get my comedy career started. They were very, very nice to me. And by the way, they worked out of the Disney studios.
Uh-huh.
But that was all film. That must have been the radio shows that they were doing when they came to NBC Hollywood and Vine. They tore down that building, Hollywood and Vine. It was a mammoth building. Mammoth building. Mammoth! It was all one floor.
Oh, wow.
You see, that's the way they...
That would be so big, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's the way they did things out there. They were all one floor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess out there, the early days, they had the space, they could move out,
Yeah. Well, I guess they were scared of earthquakes. Really, it's what it was.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you're right about that. That's right, I forgot about that.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember seeing Tallulah Bankhead come in. I remember seeing, there was some Sunday afternoon show, and it was live. And, oh, it was a big show. Oh, I wonder if you could think of the name of it. It was radio. was a huge production. And Marilyn Monroe came in. I saw her come in. And Tallulah Bankhead. And that was certainly interesting.
Yeah, now, that was a great experience.
I think I worked there 3 years at NBC Hollywood.
Really?
Or maybe 2. Maybe 3. And Bob Hope let me kept his audience over after he'd done his show, what they called an after show, and he let me tell jokes in front of the audience. Yeah, it was. And they made a disc. That's what they had then. They didn't have tape. They had a disc. They had a platter.
Right.
Yeah, they made a platter of it. Yeah, I had that for years.
That was a great experience.
It was, and this was one, and then I was there the day, you see, they had the NBC Red Network and the NBC Blue Network.
That's right, yes. I know, yeah.
And the Federal Antitrust Act made them break it up. And the Red Network became ABC. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I remember reading about that.
It's funny that you read about it, and I was there. And I remember the day they made the ABC, the Red Network, move out. And they rented these space on the second floor of a really nondescript building across the street from NBC. Across the street on Vine Street.
Right.
And it was I don't know, it was just so aboriginal. And, but that's where ABC went. And you could see, I interviewed somebody later on who worked for ABC, and she says, underneath my desk it says the Red Network. You know what I mean? The top of her desk was branded the Red Network. And I was coming into work, and I see this man going up down Vine Street, and he's looking for something. He's looking for an address. He's looking for a number. He's looking for a business. Guess who that was? It was Fred Allen.
Really?
Yeah. And apparently he was looking to make a connection with, for his radio show with ABC. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Lucky dog, Robert.
Sure.
Okay, good to talk.
Thank you for telling me that.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
When you figure how far back it was.
That's right. Very early days, the biggest start in the business, too.
Hell, the biggest, yes, the very biggest.
Yeah. We don't have talent like that today, that's for sure.
No, that's right.
We don't have talent like that today. Stage performers, and hold a candle for those people.
That's right. Isn't that true? Yeah, you make a good point. Okay, so the point of the call was to thank you so much for your thank you card.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Sure. Very welcome.
You really had to invest in Federal Express, and I didn't, because I thought they were a fly-by-night company. Okay, Robert, thank you. Look at this, folks. Look what we got. Look at that. It's a double joy. Because it means we're going to have sunshine today. Yesterday was beautiful. Colored animal crackers.
for the birdies. The skunks like them, and the raccoon likes them, and the opossum likes them. How's the color doing on the camera? Is it coming out nice bright red? It changed. The red went away as quickly as that. Peacock is printed up to page 116. This is a Herculean paper. Listen to all these birdies, folks. Isn't that something? God, can I feed all those birdies? I'm going to church now. Pretty. Now that's all beads?
Yes.
You know, beads.
Gold and white beads.
Goes on the Christmas tree?
The Christmas tree.
Yeah. And what's yours?
Well, right now it's
It's buttons? Little pearl
no,
buttons?
these are all well, they're all beads of various
Beads.
sorts.
Yeah.
Yes, everything is beads on these. But these had there was one.
That's so pretty. Hold it right there. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh, thank you. Here, Christmas star?
We're all doing the same ornament, but with different beads.
Okay. My signer for my TV program in Peekskill, my backup signer, she owns a bead store down there.
Oh,
Boy, do they have beads.
Oh my, where is this?
Oh. Well, it's Route 9, and just south of Peekskill.
Is that before Rhinebeck?
Minute of good cheer, goodwill, and good humor. Turn to the person next to you, folks, and say, God loves you. The stock investor said he buys Sweet Chariot stocks. As soon as he buys them, they swing low. And the stockbroker says, you'd be surprised how many people drive up to my office with a chauffeur and a Lincoln to get advice from a guy who comes to work on the bus. And one stockbroker hangs mistletoe over his door at Christmas time so his clients can kiss their money goodbye. And the Wall Street tycoon came home at night and his neighbor says, what's the latest dope on Wall Street? And the tycoon says, my son Irving, he started working for the company. Little girl says, Mommy, is it true that we come from dust and returned to dust? And Mommy said, certainly. And the little girl says, well, I looked under the couch, and somebody's coming or going. And the man said he doesn't know how much longer he's going to be able to support the government in the manner to which it has become accustomed. The famous author was asked, what do you consider your best work of fiction? And the famous author said, my income tax form. And the boss says that Peter is honest when he makes out his 1040 tax form. He at least reports that half of his income is unearned. I have to tell you about Harry who was talking to God. And Harry says, God, how much is $1 million to you? And God said, $10. And Harry says, well, God, how long is 1,000,000 years to you? And God said, 1 second. Harry says, God, would you loan me $10? And God says, certainly, just a second. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life, a minute of good cheer, goodwill, and good humor, and it's brought to you by Glendora versus Ecock. Deborah Ecock. This paper was started on October the 20th, the year 2004, Anno Domini. The court is the town court of Phillipstown, the county of Putnam, the state of New York, the United States of America. The index number is 0407, that's for year 04, the month 07 July, and they've had 55 cases. And this is volume 1 out of 2 volumes. And this is the original to the clerk, and it's a post-hearing memorandum by Glendora. Glendora was expecting the hearing would have been the best time to present to the court her proof that Ecock had already signed the Cablevision contract. It was a done deal. At the time she refused to sign it, it had already been signed 2 years ago. And herewith Glendora presents the proof. So just let me show it to you folks. This is the observed Cablevision contract, which has no meaning anyhow. But you see, Ecock signed it on the 2 days after Christmas in the year 02. And so in the year 04, it's another contract from Cecilia, who lost the original and forgot all about it. That's Cecilia for you, over and over again. And so she sends Cecilia sends Deborah a contract to sign, which it has no meaning, you know. It's just a bully contract. I don't know how they get away with bullying people. Anyway, Ecock, 2 years later, gets the same contract, and she refused to sign it, and she's already signed it. And she signed it over here. Again, another paper on the same date. So it was really a dumb thing to do. The whole thing is dumb. So Glendora says, page 7 to the court. So this shows indisputably that Ecock, Callaghan, and McQuaid are lying. They cannot be believed by this court. Again, Glendora moves for sanctions. Again, Callaghan, McQuaid have no personal knowledge. Everything they say is hearsay. They weren't there when it happened. I was there, ECOC was there. They were not. Glendora wants her right to examine ECOC at the witness stand. The renewals are every 6 months. They used to be every 3 months. But Dolan did such a bad job running the company, Cablevision, they vortexed into debt. And the stock plummeted from $110 to $5. Can you imagine that? They had to fire 2,500 people in Westchester and 800 in Long Island. Ergo, there was not enough money and personnel to continue the harassment of public access producers every 3 months. Dolan's fiduciary irresponsibility to us shareholders is a claim by Glendora against him. Page 8 lists the 6-month periods for which ECOC kept a chat with Glendora on TV in the Peekskill system. Glendora thanks her. Here they are, folks. She got a chat with Glendora on TV for the period of October 1st, 01 to March the 31st, 02. She kept a chat with Glendora on TV for April 1 to September 30th, 02. From October 1st to 02 to March the 31st, 03. And from April 1st to September 30th, 03. And then October 1st, 03 to March 31st, 04. Thank you. Now she preached on signing for the period April the 1st, 04, this year, to September the 30th, 04. In January 04, Glendora asked ECOC to renew for April the 1st, 04 to September the 30th, 04. She said yes. This is when Cecilia perpetrated the extortion and forgot and lost pages 3, 4, 5, and 6 within that I just showed you. Cecilia sent ECOC another copy of 3, 4, 5, and 6, which I just showed you. Glendora told them both ECOC had already signed 2 years ago. I told them that. I had the proof. They have lost it. The renewals have to be in by February the 11th and by August the 11th. Glendora was asking ECOC to renew for the April the 1st, 04 to September the 30th, 04. Glendora started working on Cablevision renewals in January 04, and it takes a month or more to do them. Harrison, Port Chester, Ossining, Wappingers, New Rochelle, Pelham, Yorktown, Norwalk, Connecticut, Yonkers, Cross River, Dutchess, Peekskill, Nassau County, and Hauppauge. Cablevision gives no notice at all when they rob you of public access rights. Glendora asked Cecilia to give her time to get the renewal in for October the 1st, 03, March the 31st, 04. Renewal for Peekskill, ECOC. Cecilia concurred. Then, without notice, she robbed Glendora of her public access free speech in November with no notice. Then she went off to the hospital, Cecilia, for circa 3 weeks, and there was no one left in her job to remedy. She just goes off and leaves it, and there's no substitute there. Nobody does the work. So I'm off the TV, my free speech is stolen for 3 weeks. Turns out to be 6 months. Now this is the letter that Glendora wrote to Cecilia this year in February. You ruined Deborah ECOC, and that's extortion. And you double-crossed me again, and that's extortion. And I'm on the brink of suing you for everything you own. I have the original 4 pages that ECOC signed. You had no cause to send it to her again. The trouble with you is that you keep losing your papers. Now I have to go to Peekskill and get another one on account of you. Well, that's the first section. Simultaneously, by the same tactics of extortion, Cecilia ruined Glendora Steiner and Harrison Portchester, Patricia Langelotti. Patricia had signed, was all set to send in her proof of residency, another Cablevision harassment on public access producers, and Cecilia butted in to scare Patricia, and Patricia called Glendora and said she was backing out. And Glendora let a few weeks go by. It took a few weeks to get Pat on the phone again, and Glendora told Pat that was not a nice thing to do, to back out, and Pat was not amiable, and Glendora said, "I'm going to sue you." And Pat said, "I'll sign." Well, Glendora stopped talking to Pat because this sounded too much like extortion, so Glendora sued Pat in Harrison Town Court, along with Cecilia, Savarino, Callaghy, Satterlee, Stevens, Birkenberg, Cablevision, Charles Dolan, his son James, and their henchmen who enslaved people to implement these illegal and phony limitations and prohibitions on public access producers. And the names of those henchmen are Mac Dill and Thomas Garger, who violate our protections for public access rights under Title 47 U.S. Code Section 521 et sequitur, and New York State Public Service Law Section 229, and Title 9 New York Code Rules and Regulations 595.4. And, of course, the municipal franchises. Now, herein, Glendora introduces her 82-page argument in the Harrison Court, the lawsuit I just listed to you. Ecock was sued there, but Harrison said they had no jurisdiction. Simultaneously with Peekskill and Harrison, Portchester, Cecilia also ruined Yonkers. The signer there copped out when Cecilia called him. Glendora did not sue him. A friend got another signer in Yonkers against Cecilia. Axe blocked the show with no notice.
Welcome to a chat with Glendora, America's champion of pro se litigants' rights and First Amendment rights. Stay tuned, we will be right back with our show.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! Who are we? Acorn! When do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! Who are we? Acorn! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! The people! United!
Hangs up. Did you ever in your life see or hear such a company as Cablevision Systems Corporation? Charles F. Dolan and John Tata. Did you ever see such a company? Savarino hangs up. Is Cablevision a monster or not? So here's the 82-page paper. And volume 1 out of volume 2. And now they're working on Norwalk. Savarino is trying to ditch Norwalk. That's their latest one. You see, ever since they took the program off of TV in Nassau County, they being Charles Dolan, Cablevision Systems Corporation, John Todd, and all their goons that work for them, ever since they took the show off of TV in 1993, which is 11 years come November 11th, Armistice Day, Veterans Day. Ever since they did that, and I sued them, and boy were they shocked. And I won in the courts, 3 courts. And the courts told them to put it back on. Ever since then, they've tried to take it off in other places. Oh, they've had it off in Harrison. They've had it off in New Rochelle. They've had it off in Yonkers. They've had it off in Yorktown. They've had it off in Peekskill. They've had it off in Ossining. They never could touch Cross River. Cross River is an anomaly, but a beautiful anomaly. Cross River Chat with Glendora is on for 2 hours every Friday night. And I've had that ever since the U.S. Cable owned the Cross River system, and it's a pretty big system. It's about 8 municipalities. It's very important for the people up there to get the information that a Chat with Glendora gives. 1 thing, you stand up to cable operators, and 2, you stand up to crooked judges. This is very important information. So now they're working on Norwalk, Connecticut. That's Fairfield County. Other papers that Glendora wanted to present in court at trial follow. They are logs, hours, and dollars, most pertinent to this case. Other ECOC signed papers, and a Brooklyn Public Access renewal. Well, the point in the Brooklyn Public Access renewal, if I can get up, is they use 1 page. Cablevision uses 6 pages. Brooklyn Public Access uses 1 page. Portland, Oregon uses 1 page. And so forth and so forth. Cox Communications, Manchester, Connecticut, uses 1 page. On and on and on and on. But what does Cablevision do? They come up with a phony contract, so-called, 6 pages, threaten people, lie to people, coerce people, exercise extortion. That's Cablevision. And they don't have any money to do this. Time Warner, in many systems, doesn't even require a signer at all. And in those systems where they do, Glendora gets a signer once, and that is all there is to it. I never hear from them again. Albany, Binghamton, Middletown. I never hear from them again. Adelphia does not even require a signer, nor does Comcast. Glendora's on 45 TV stations. She has personal knowledge. Only Cablevision harasses, limits, prohibits. And to the extreme, Cablevision is a RICO, a racketeer influence crime organization. Now here are other Peekskill signers that Glendora had to spend so much time, money, and labor to replace ECOC. One of them is a good spare in case anything happens to Tabat, ECOC's replacement. Yates may be also, but the rest are deceivers. Glendora has a log of hours and dollars getting these people to sign and then calling them to get in their proof of residence, license, and utility bill. Now that's an out-and-out insult. When a person signs their stupid papers, okay, Cablevision calls up and says, send us a proof of residency. So in effect, what is Cablevision saying to that signer? You lied. We don't believe you. Well, of course, who can believe Cablevision? Because they lie so much, they can't believe anybody else. So here's a whole bunch of other people signing folks. And I explained to you about them. Some are good and some are just bumps. They should work for Cablevision. Now I wrote a letter to Ramage to send to Cecilia because I wanted to know, please tell me the names of the municipalities in the Peekskill system. I want to find Glendora Signer to get her back on the Peekskill system. And did you play on TV this tape that you mailed back to Glendora last week? Has it been cablecast on the Austining system? Thank you, sincerely, Mary Ramage. Well, I never found out. The letter was never answered. Now, Cecilia claims that Glendora's tapes cannot be cablecast because they arrived damaged in the mail. And Glendora says, well, send them back to me and give me the proof. They won't send them back to me. Nobody can be dumber or more devious or more dishonest than Cablevision Systems Corporation. Glendora called her 44 other TV stations and recorded on audio tape. Do my tapes get damaged in the mail? Every one of them says no. Never. It would have been so much easier to present this evidence orally in court to convince this court than to write it all out and copy it and post it. Glendora wanted a trial. Included herein are more papers that Glendora wanted to show in court orally, but since this is not going to happen, she submits them in writing. A log is exhibited to prove the Herculean hours and dollars that have to be spent on these renewals, for which there is no statutory authority. Cox Cable makes it the simplest. Glendora has to write letters and make telephone calls ad infinitum to expedite these nuisance papers. For instance, Rickman, a letter that I wrote to Jackie Rickman about the Brooklyn signing. Next is a list of public access producers required to be available. This list is required by the New York Public Service Commission. You can go to any cable company and say, I want the list, the names and addresses of all public access producers. They have to provide it for you. Portland, Oregon sends you a confirmation and a schedule when the program is going to be cablecast. And can you imagine Cablevision ever being that humane? Lindy Hartzman was Glendora's first signer in Peekskill. The court may know her name. She protested how Peekskill City was squandering federal funds. She spoke out and was arrested. It was at a city council meeting, and she was arrested and she was put in jail and fined. And her sister told Lindy about Glendora, and Lindy called Glendora and told how she was fined, and Glendora says, well, I don't give legal advice, I'm not a lawyer, because we have a monopoly in the state of New York, a horrible infringement of free speech. But I get around that by telling people this is what I would do if it happened to me. And Lindy copied it, and she did it, and she won in the appellate term. She appealed what Peekskill City had done to her, and the appellate term ruled in Lindy's favor and said to Peekskill, give that woman back her money. Well, Lindy got the check and she framed it. She had been framed. And And Lindy was my signer in Peekskill all this time. And here's the teacup. Lindy came to our house for lunch. And she brought this beautiful teacup filled with beautiful flowers. And that's all I have left of Lindy, because Lindy died at the age of 40. A beautiful, vibrant woman. She died at the age of 40 of cancer. And she tried to help me find a home for Acumen, the dog that I rescued. Cecilia and Barbara, that was Barbara Gelman. I like Barbara Gelman, but when Cablevision had done such a bad job running the company, and lost all that money, they had to fire Barbara Gelman. I wish they would fire Christine Savarino. Cecilia and Barbara had a party for Peekskill signers, and Lindy came. And Glendora was not invited. It's only my show. I wasn't invited. And nobody can beat Dolan Cablevision for dehumanization. Nobody. And Tata. Look what they did to Ecock. Okay, so here's many, many, many pages of logs, as I just read to you. And that takes us up to, here is the Cablevision list of public access producers in the Peekskill system. Another thing that I didn't mention in here, but another thing that Peekskill does illegally is they charge people for editing. Public access editing is supposed to be at the cable operator's expense. See Goldberg versus Cablevision in the Second Circuit. Here is Multinoma, or Multnoma, or whatever, public access in Portland, Oregon. They send you a letter, and they send you your schedule. Now, isn't that nice? Cablevision would never do anything like that. That's too amiable. That's too much an amenity. We're up to page 69. Next section is the New York Law Journal. Did a front page story on the case when pro se Glendora beat Park Avenue lawyer Kelly. They had Glendora's picture in the article on the front page, and it is deep in the 25,000 pages that Glendora has on Dolan Cablevision, and it would take a day or two to disinter it, and I'm just not going to do it. Cablevision was so anxious to win this case, Glendora versus Cablevision, when they took it off in Nassau County. They were so anxious to win it that they hired Mark Fowler, and Mark Fowler is a former commissioner of the Federal Communications Commission, but he lost to Glendora. He was standing there doing his oral argument. I was standing there doing my oral argument, and the judges were Minor, and Van Graeflin, and what's his name? Is it Mahoney from Brooklyn? Anyway, the former chairman of the Federal Communications Commission lost to Glendora. Well, here's the article that was in the New York Times when Glendora beat Cablevision, and we put the program back on the TV. That was a nice camera. It was a Canon. That was nice. You don't make camcorders as much well as they used to. It was featured in the Westchester Law Journal. Glendora returns to Long Island Cable after Judge Silverman rules in her favor. This was a big page story in Newsday, Long Island. Gadfly swats cable giant. Glendora fights Cablevision. Multi-channel news. Cablevision loses first round in access law test. Well, they lost all the rounds. Cablevision, A Chat with Glendora is back on TV. Wobbly about Norwalk, Connecticut. But I have a man there who said he would sign in Fairfield County. He owns the New England limousine service of Fairfield. Here's a note to Glendora, from Glendora. Glendora, when you go to Garrison to go to the town court, you can go to Peekskill and find signers there. Well, I did. Oh, boy. I'm home near midnight. Traveled 240 miles. Spent hours and hours getting the signers. Now here's some of my other signers just to show you the court that it's no big deal signing. Nothing ever comes of it. It's a meaningless thing anyhow. It has no statutory basis, folks. There's no statute ever written by the New York State Legislature or by the Congress of the United States nor by the municipalities to support what they do. They just try to bully you out of public access. The Cablevision papers are toothless. There's no statutory authority. They are unconscionable. They are no signed papers by two partners. That is, it's not a contract. Cablevision doesn't sign it and send it back to the signer with an affidavit of service. Ecock overreacted. She was pressured out by Cecilia's extortion. And here are my sweet, sweet signers. Zeke Hunter in Cross River. George Paris in New Rochelle. Helen, hi George. Oh, good old sweet pie. Mary Ramage signs for the Yorktown system. Taylor Holbrook, the Reverend Taylor Holbrook, signs for Wappingers. These are some of the dearest friends that Franklin and I ever have. Robert Angel for Austining. There's just a few of them. Mary Ramage and I had such a good time when we went to Phillipstown Court for the hearing. Here are the logs that started with Garrison and Ecock, and it started on in May, around about the 21st of May, and many pages of those logs. I'll just show you one page. They're quite detailed. Keeping a log is very, very important. There's the number of the session, the date, and what was done, and how long it took. So this goes on for 16 pages. Now, page 95, excuse me, page 97, page 99, 101. And Glendora memorializes what happened in court on October the 18th, last week, Monday, from 49 p.m. to 5:09 p.m. Glendora was there, McQuaid was there, and Mary Ramage was there, and Toman was the judge. And when Toman called the case, Glendora versus Ecock, Glendora stood and said, "Ready." And Glendora should have said, "Plaintiff, ready." And then McQuaid stood up and mumbled something about defendant. And then McQuaid went, "Who is it? Who?" Hold on, folks. It's somebody at the door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Now, this is a lunar eclipse. And what does that mean? That,
Earth is between the sun and the moon.
oh, okay. And has the eclipse started?
Yes, but unfortunately the clouds are between the Earth and the moon also right now.
Oh, and so the eclipse is half over?
I'd say about a third. Doesn't it look like?
Yes. How long will it take?
Well, for about another half hour.
Okay.
Or maybe a little longer.
Oh, that's interesting. So the Earth comes between the moon and the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and that puts a shadow on the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Either that or it's being eaten.
Oh, thank you for telling me. I would have missed this completely.
Yeah. Well, I like celestial events.
Yes. Yes, it is. It never ceases to amaze.
Tom told me about a year ago when the Northern Lights were coming, and that was amazing to see.
Oh, you saw the Northern Lights?
Yeah.
From here?
It's the only time in my life. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
From here?
Yep.
When was that?
That would have been, I think it was the spring of 2003.
Oh, and you saw them well from here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did you say? That it's halfway over now?
It's further than it was, I guess.
And now we don't have clouds.
A little bit.
Yeah, I can't see the arc. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? It doesn't look like an eclipse on a
No,
close.
not when you're close up like that, but from far away it does.
Huh. Yeah, it really does look like an eclipse. So how much longer do you think it will be?
About another. Well, it'll be completely covered, I guess, in 45 minutes or so.
It'll be completely covered?
That's what I understand.
And then how long will it take to come out of it?
I'd say another hour. It's probably been an hour. Well, probably been about 15 minutes so far.
Oh, thank you very much for telling us.
You're very welcome. Jack said something about the moon would change color around 10:20 or something like that.
And color what, orange?
Yeah. I'm not sure why that would be, but his science teacher was telling him about it.
Oh, that's nice.
Sure. All right, well, I'll see you around because I'll be here this week.
Oh, that's so nice. That was so nice. So nice to live in a neighborhood with good people and come and tell you that you're missing the eclipse of the moon. No, this isn't the first time that Charles Dolan, John Tyler, and Cablevision have ruined a day. Well, they don't really ruin it. Well, I was telling you what happened. Okay, McQuaid went to the plaintiff's table. That's pretty dumb, you know, she's the defendant. And so Glendora says, no, that's the plaintiff's table. You go over there. And I pointed to the plaintiff's table, the defendant's table. And Glendora, I'm the plaintiff, Glendora. And Judge Toman, Stephen Toman, said, you have a last name? And Glendora says, no, Glendora is it. Toman, a defendant, and Laura McQuaid said Laura McQuaid, and she spelled it. And she says Sally Stevens, Burke, and Burke. And Glendora says, may I have a card? And McQuaid reaches for her purse, and then she reconsiders, and she says, I don't have a card. Glendora, you don't have a card? My name is on the papers. Well, I don't think it is. You don't have a card anywhere? No. Glendora, Your Honor. Toman said something. Glenn said, okay. And Glendora hands McQuaid her copy of Glendora's cross motion. I read that to you last week. That took 3 programs, 3 half-hour programs. Do you remember that? Glendora, is Ecock here? McQuaid, no, she's not. Glendora, is she coming? McQuaid, no, she's not. Tolman said something. Motion to dismiss. Glendora says, here's my cross motion. Tolman says, is it the original? Glendora says, yes, original to the clerk. And Tolman asks McQuaid, how long do you need to answer? And McQuaid says, I would ask that the court dismiss this matter. The defendant has been harassed long enough with this matter. If you are going to reserve, then I will need 2 to 3 weeks to reply. And then Tolman looked straight at McQuaid and said, I am going to reserve. I'm going to read this, holding up my cross motion. What she was trying to do was to get a summary judgment. Dismiss it right then and there. Thank you, Judge Tolman. In fact, I said thank you right there in court when he did that. I certainly was prepared to jump to my defense on that one. That would have been a horrible denial of due process. So McQuaid and Tolman, the judge, discuss how much time McQuaid needs to reply, and she said 2 or 3 weeks. And Glendora says, well, I need a date. And Marlene Bowman, the clerk, looked in the book and said November 15th. And Glendora says, well, what day is that? And Tolman says Monday. And then he says, that's my court day. And
Welcome to a chat with Glendora, America's champion of pro se litigants' rights and First Amendment rights. Stay tuned, we will be right back with our show.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! Who are we? Acorn! When do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! Who are we? Acorn! When do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! The people! United! Whatever be defeated! The people! United!
something about fully submitted. and you can reply after that date if you want to. And I said, thank you, I guess. And Tolman said, shortly after. And Glendora says, I need a date, sir. And Tolman says, November 15th. I said, yes, but you said it was your court night and you wanted it different. And Tolman says, no, your cross motion. She has until November 15th to reply to your cross motion. Already submitted. Now, did you put in your opposition and affirmation to this motion? He said to Glendora. And Glendora said, yes. In your cross motion? He asked. Glendora said, yes, it's in there. Okay. Your opposition is in. Your cross motion is in. All I need is a reply to your cross motion, and that will be here November 15th. And Glendora says, is that postmarked November 15th? Tolman, postmarked November 15th. Tolman said something else about, it was about 10 words. Glendora says, okay, do I get a sir reply? In other words, they made a motion to dismiss. I made a cross motion to deny the motion to dismiss and to grant all of my relief requested and to sanction them. So they get an answer to my cross motion, a reply to my cross motion. And then usually I wouldn't get a sir reply. But he gave me a sir reply, spelled S-U-R. I said, do I get a sir reply? And Tolman, the judge, says, if you want to make a sir reply, you can make it. But immediately after. Glendora says, give me a date. And Tolman says, 1 week after that. 1 week, November 22nd. Postmarked? Tolman, yes. Glenn, okay. Tolman, then it will be fully submitted. If you don't reply by the 22nd, Glendora says, I will. If you don't respond, it will be decided after the 22nd. Glendora, but I wanted a trial. No? I wanted a trial. Maybe I should talk to, well, if the motion is denied, the judge says, the case goes forward. No, the case doesn't go forward. If the motion is granted, oh yeah, the case goes forward if the motion is denied. If the motion is granted, they're asking to dismiss, you can't have a trial because it would be dismissed. And I don't know what relief you are asking for. Glendora, $3,000. $3,000. Judge Tolman said something. It was about 10 words or so. And Glendora says, no other relief, I don't think. Just the $3,000. And everything's quiet. And Glendora says, do you pronounce your name Toman? He says, no, Tolman. It's spelled with a double N. Do you want to, McQuaid says, do you want to hear any argument on our pending motion? Tolman, no. And then he said about 20 words to McQuaid. McQuaid, thank you. Glendora, thank you. Can I tell a joke? And Tolman says, no. And Mary Ramage laughed. And Mary, when she laughs, it makes me laugh. And so I laughed. And Glenn said to myself, or I said to myself, I'll put in my reply. Well, I didn't. It's a good joke, too. I'll tell it to you. The judge said, why did you park there? And the defendant said, because of the sign. The judge says, what sign? And the defendant says, the sign said fine for parking. Glenn packed up her crisscross, all her notes, and put in the Staples Green box. and it was scarcely going down. It was really scary going down those steps. There's an old building, and the stairs are, like, well, twice as wide as this room. And carrying this great big box, and these steep stairs, and a whole lot of them. It was so easy to leave your balance because you didn't have anything to hold on to. And it was 5 p.m. and the total time was about 13 minutes. And outside, I asked a 7-foot police officer what his badges of glory were. And did you save somebody's life? I asked him. Yes, a little boy was choking. And over the phone, we told the people how to apply the Heinemann or Hucker, what's it called, maneuver. And they did, and he lived. Isn't that a joy? And so then the log goes on. I took Mary Ramage back to Mohegan Lake. Mohegan Lake's nice. They have nice stores. And then I went back to Peekskill. I went back to Tabat's, but her place was closed. She's my new signer in Peekskill. And then I drove up to Fishkill on Route 9. And I visited with my funeral director. My funeral director is one of my best friends. She's 24 years old, and she's adorable. And I tell her Undertaker jokes. And then it's sort of a nice ride. If you didn't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and if you hadn't already driven 150 miles, but it's sort of a nice ride. You leave Fishkill, you go up Route 9, you go through all this shopping area at Wappingers, and you go to the city of Poughkeepsie and the town of Poughkeepsie. And then you go to Hyde Park, and then you go, it's quite a way from Hyde Park up to Rhinecliff, and then from Rhinecliff to Red Hook. I always like to stop at the Stewart's in Red Hook, but I missed it. And then Upper Red Hook, and that's the end of Dutchess County. And now you're into, it gets very rural, and now you're into Columbia County. You're all still on Route 9. And before you know it, you're at Route 9H. And once you're at Route 9H, you're about 10 miles from home. And I missed a few turns, so I went on to the next turn. And I got home about 10:15. So the whole thing took, I started getting ready for it around 8 o'clock. So it's 13 or 14 hours, 250 miles. But we're going to stand up for public access, and that's all there is to it. And they're not going to get away from these things. And let me tell you, the next person who says he or she will sign these foolish Cablevision papers and says yes, and then Cablevision calls up and scares them and commits extortion, and the person backs down, that person's going to get sued, and Cablevision's going to get sued with them. This has happened about 28 times. It's not going to happen again without litigation. So that's all of the logs that I included in this 130-page post-hearing memorandum. And I asked them, please don't make me include all the receipts I have. Franklin and I keep the books. We had kept books 48 years, and I still keep them, whereby you have a daily page, and you put in everything that comes in and everything that comes out, the date that it happened, and how much it was and what it was. And then at the end of the week, when you, of course you add that up at the end of the week, and then you take each item and put it over in the month column, if it's office supplies, if it's gasoline, all the business stuff, and then all the personal stuff. And then at the end of the month, you add up the columns. Then you take those amounts and then you put them on the year sheet for the month of October, for instance. And we've done that carefully. And we have a receipt for everything. And there's so many receipts. So I asked them, please don't make me produce those receipts. It would take a day to get them all together. And I swore under penalty of perjury. Statements that Glendora was going to make in court, but there's no trial. Did Eacock talk it over with Glendora first? No. Couldn't she have called Glendora's other signers for years and seen if they ever had any trouble or any hurt? She turned her back on free speech, on America, and on democracy. She never saw the show and therefore had no complaint against it. Glendora has audio tapes and videotapes to show the court. Will that ever happen? One videotape is Glendora's appearance as a guest on the David Letterman show. This will tell you why Glendora charges $300 an hour as a TV professional, along with all of the experience in litigation in courts and with all of the experience of doing public access programs. Over 50 years in broadcast TV and over 30 years in cable TV. Does this court have any video playback? This case is of national interest. The government has an interest in this case, public access, as demonstrated in Title 47 U.S. Code, Section 521, et sequitur, which is a law that regulates public access. Callaghy has no meritorious defense. Not one thing he proffers absolves Eacock from breaching contract with Glendora. The long list, incomplete, of Glendora's brave fights for rights has no relevance, nor does the Cablevision policies, rules, procedures. They are not germane. They are not the issue. And it occurred to me in one of those electromagnetic waves that goes through your head at 186,000 miles per second, it occurred to me that it's about time that I proved in court once for all that these Cablevision policies, rules, and procedures have no statutory authority. They have no standing. And Cablevision has no power to enforce anything as ridiculous and as unconscionable as they are. Callaghy begs to prejudice and bias the court, and this is his only hope. Judge Tolman, will you please sign Glendora's papers on February 11th, 05 to keep Glendora's show on Cablevision in Peekskill? Eacock does not present any papers from Cablevision. The only Eacock Cablevision came from Cecilia. What did Cecilia say to Eacock? What did Savarino say to Eacock? The person accompanying Glendora on October the 18th, Monday, at 4:30 p.m. in court was and still is Mary Ramage, Mohegan Lake. Mary is Glendora's signer for Cablevision Yorktown, and has been for years. Glendora wanted the court to ask Mary if she enjoyed being a signer, if it had been fun, and if anything bad had ever happened. And will she do it again? Mary and Glendora have had good times together since we met a long time ago, and we met over her signing the Cablevision Yorktown papers for me. The same applies to Zeke Hunter, who signed years ago for the Cross River system, where Glendora is on 2 hours every Friday night. George Paris, who signed years ago for New Rochelle Pelham, and James Cahagan, who signed years ago for the Rockland system. Andy Poland, who signed years ago for the Brookhaven Long Island system. Taylor Holbrook, who signed years ago for Wappingers. Bob Angelo, who signed years ago for Ossining. Kelly Burness, who signed years ago for the Nassau County system. That's a big system, 430,000 subscribers. Lori Calgano, who signed years ago for the Hauppauge system. That's another 60,000 subscribers. To Betty Ann Smith, who signed years ago for the Bergen County, New Jersey system, ad infinitum. All Eacock had to do was to talk to these signers instead of turning her back on Glendora, free speech in the USA. McQuaid Callaghy, whine that Eacock has been harassed by Glendora. Well, I think it's pretty obvious to you folks who's been harassed. but of acuity as Glendora has presented to the court can effortlessly see, it is Glendora who has been harassed by Cecilia, Savarina, Dolan, Toddick, Harrison, Cablevision, Gallagher, McQuaid, Budil et al. And Glendora found out tonight that her Harrison Town Court judge is out of the hospital and is in and out of his office, so he's a little better. Glendora wanted to send him a get well card, but she couldn't do it without sending a copy to the other side. And I refused to do that. That's reductio ad absurdum. I have Cablevision at the moment in the Rye City Court. Well, actually, that's gone to the appellate court. In the Harrison Town Court, in the Phillipstown Town Court, and in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, Richmond, Virginia. I sued them in the United States District Court in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, here is a zinger. Motion pursuant to a CPLR analog to Rule 55 Federal Rules of Civil Procedure for default judgment. Eacock did not appear. McQuaid, Callaghy, and Satterley failed to produce Carmody weight proof of authorization to represent Eacock. Indeed, McQuaid didn't even have a business card. Ergo, Glendora is entitled to a $3,000 judgment by default, costs, and disbursements, and all further relief just and proper. This was dated October the 26th. Yours in truth and in Armo Patria, Glendora. A chat with Glendora is on 45 TV stations. There'll be 450 municipalities, including Washington, D.C. And it is on the internet. There are 100 with 10 more coming, 16 more coming. Half-hour programs of A Chat with Glendora on the internet, www.achatwithglendora.com. You can watch them on your computer screen just the way you watch them on a TV screen. Wherefore, therefore, and ergo, Glendora is entitled to $3,000, the costs and disbursements, and any further relief just and proper. Dated October 26, 2004, Anno Domini. And Glendora's service list is the original to the clerk, to Callaghy, to Eacock, to Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision, to John Tata and Cablevision, to George McDermott, All-American Hero in Washington, D.C., to the Center for Judicial Accountability, Incorporated, More Heroes Fighting Corruption, and to the Glendora TV audience, you, all important, and the Glendora Internet audience. And this paper costs $65.82 to print and post. Why not? It's 130 pages, and it took 22 hours. But I think that has to be augmented to like 28 hours. Okay, that's it. Welcome to Glendora, cheerful look at life. 1 minute of good cheer, goodwill, and good humor. And the stock investor says that he buys Sweet Chariot stocks. As soon as he buys them, they swing low. And the stockbroker says, you'd be surprised how many people come up to my office in a Lincoln and with a chauffeur and to get advice from a guy who comes to work on the bus. Edgar said that he could shoot himself because 20 years ago he had an opportunity to invest in Federal Express, but he didn't because he thought it was a fly-by-night company. And one stockbroker at Christmas time hangs mistletoe over his door so that his clients can kiss their money goodbye. The Wall Street tycoon drove up to his house after work at night, and his neighbor says, "Hi, John. What's the latest dope on Wall Street?" John says, "My son Irving, he just started working for the company." The little girl says, "Mother, is it true? The Bible says we come from dust and return to dust." And mother says, "Yes." And the little girl says, "I looked under the couch and somebody's coming or going." And Summertime is when Americans put aside the Rubik Cube and face the all-time challenge, how to refold a road map. And Bob says it's getting harder and harder for him to support this government in the custom to which, or in the style to which it has become accustomed. And somebody asked a famous author, what is your greatest work of fiction? And the famous author said, my income tax form. And the boss says that Peter, at least he's honest. When he made out his 1040 form, at least he said half of his income was unearned. Now, Harry is talking to God, and he says, God, how much is $1 million to you? And God said $10. And Harry says, well, God, how long is 1,000,000 years to you? And God said, a second. And Harry says, God, could you loan me $10? And God says, certainly. Just a second. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. A minute of good cheer, goodwill, and good humor brought to you by... Would you like to go out now and see the eclipse? The Earth comes between the moon and the sun. Well, isn't that interesting? The Earth between the moon and the sun. Oh, it's so interesting. It's interesting because it happened when the moon is full, right? The harvest moon? Or almost full or something. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm sorry I can't hold it steadily. I need a tripod, but I'm not coming out here with a tripod at this hour of the day. That's the Earth's shadow on the moon. The terrestrial ball on the lunar ball. Oh, this is wonderful.
It's clear, folks. It's clear. We can see the morning sunrise. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies. Wasn't that spectacular last night? You could actually see the earth outlined on the moon. You could see the shadow that the earth was making on the moon. And we were standing on the earth looking at the shadow we were making on the moon. The animals do not like Triscuits. They do not like expensive Triscuits. Look at the heavy frost that we had last night. It's pretty cold. You know what I'd love to do today, folks? I'd just love to sit down at the new titler and put the messages on the TV screen, the words on the TV screen. But I gotta do legal papers. I gotta fight public access. And the people who abscond with it, John Totter, Charles Dolan, Cablevision Systems Corporation, Mac Budill, Thomas Garger, Miles Rich, Christine Savarino, Cecilia Mastrovilli. I have to fight for public access. And who else fights for public access harder? Well, I think maybe Zabby. Zabby was going off to Huntington because they're going to do the same thing in Huntington, that the crooked thing they did in Southampton, sell public access down the drain. Cablevision again. Oh, I'd be so glad when that company is a nothing and is swallowed up and digested. So that's what I got to do. Glendora versus Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation in the appellate term, the appeals court, Supreme Court, state of New York, 9th and 10th Judicial Districts, 2nd Department.
4 American soldiers in Iraq over the weekend.